As I said in my introduction, that song burst into the scene around the Women's March, but that's not actually, Quiet is not actually about politics, right? It's inspired by something more personal. So can you tell us about that?
Yeah, in the end of 2015, I wrote the song Quiet, and technically, if I put a stopwatch on, it took me about 3.5 hours to write the song, but I feel like it took me a lifetime to write. Growing up as a Chinese American woman, I felt like I was torn between two different approaches of living, one as a confident young American and one also as a woman growing up with a traditional Chinese upbringing, where, you know, I was told when I was younger, and this was not out of like malice, you know, it's just things that are passed on from generation to generation, but I was told that the smaller a woman was, the smaller her mouth was, the more attractive she was because she would ignite less noise and interruption, and bigger eyes so she could observe what's happening. And I always thought to myself, I'm screwed. Because that sounds like a terrible time. And so I am a survivor of sexual assault myself, and at age 14, I went through it, and I was kind of, the reaction I got from my loved ones when I told them what happened was that it was my fault, and I brought shame, and I was slut-shamed. Then I developed an eating disorder, and I learned to internalize and silence everything within myself. I was very good at hiding in plain sight. No one really knew who I truly was because I was able to be a blank check to anybody. I could figure out what people needed, and then I would become that, because I'd rather do that than experience any type of conflict, because I thought it would come in the form of abuse. So I didn't really learn how to confront or communicate until my mid-20s. That was like something I was learning. It's okay to say, I disagree. And so I started going to therapy because I had demons. I still had body dysmorphia, and I was still dealing with that, and it was getting in the way of my career. I could feel myself holding back and self-sabotaging. So as I started going through therapy, I started having these dreams where I would reenact my past stories of abuse, but my subconscious was redesigning my dreams and rewriting what actually happened to what I wish had happened. So the night before Quiet, the night before I wrote the song, my abuser was hitting me, and there was someone watching, and I said, we need to do something. Yeah, in my dream, I was like, we need to do something. And the observer looked down at me and said, if you say something, it's going to make it worse, so just keep quiet, and it'll be over soon. And I looked up at the observer, and I said, well, I can't keep quiet. And I had never said, 1, this is wrong, I need help. 2, I can't keep quiet. So then the next day, I wrote the song. And for me, it was like a weight lifted off my chest, because I felt like, oh, I finally wrote that song that has been haunting me for years. Like, how do I sonically encapsulate that rage and that hurt and that, I don't know, that burst of energy that's locked in my body when someone oppresses me, someone assaults me, or when someone dismisses me. That's a big trigger for me, is when I get dismissed and I'm not heard. So, yeah, so I wasn't writing it for any political cause, it was for me. But yeah, I guess, you know, I always say, like, as an Asian woman, everything that I do, if I'm writing from a very honest perspective, is going to be political, because it is a less talked about perspective, and it can help inform how our society can move to include other cultures.
And you decided to release a song around the Women's March, and actually to go to DC and perform it in these flash mobs, which ended up being a huge decision that changed your life. So tell us how that all unfolded.
The song got into the hands of my co-writer's manager. And so she approached me because she played the song for the head of a couple of big music companies, and they were interested in meeting me. At that point, I still didn't know how to value my own voice. I was like, oh, do they want to buy the song for another artist? But turns out they're interested in my story and what I was doing. So that was the beginning of me, like, kind of gaining confidence. However, that manager wanted me to repackage and kind of fit certain molds, and so it just was like kind of not, it wasn't working. It was really stressful for me. At the same time, the campaign for the presidential election was happening, and then the, you know, violent words towards women were, you know, being blasted on radio, and I was just in dismay listening to these words being aired on the radio. And friends of mine were getting triggered. Friends who have been abused before couldn't leave their homes because they just felt unsafe. So I thought, wow, this is a really, you know, a very important time. And I'm, you know, as I was watching the television screen as, you know, the election happened, I thought to myself, I need to say what I need to say, and I'm not going to hold back this song right now because I need to put this forward to establish that I'm not comfortable with that language, and I will not condone that for the society, for my future kids.
And you decided to go to DC and actually perform it with some women that you had never met before, right?
Yes.
You found them on the internet. So what was it actually like to be at the march? Also, you had injured your ankle before, and she was actually in a wheelchair for the majority of the march, which I did not know. And the video was not planned, so tell us how that all happened.
Yeah, I sprained my ankle on Christmas Day, and I got burglarized on New Year's Day. And
great way to start the year.
Yeah, great way to start the year. And so, you know, my family was like, "Are you sure you're going to go to this march? Because you literally cannot march." And I was like, "I'm going to roll." So this really kind guy friend of mine just pushed me through the march the whole time. It was very nice. I wanted to offer something as an artist. I knew I wanted to participate because after I was like, you know, this is an amazing event, women coming together, I want to be there. But what can I give? And so I thought I could pass out CDs of the song, but that seems self-solicitous, and who wants to hold CDs while they're marching? So I thought, people like experiences, so let me provide an experience. And I don't want to just stand there by myself, I want to harmonize. And I grew up singing in choirs and a cappella groups. So I wrote a 7-piece harmony. I recorded each part. I put them all into a Google Drive, had instructions, and then I started recruiting girls online. And so I met 25 other women across the country, and then we met up. Some of us met up the Thursday before the march, and we rehearsed, and it was this magical experience. My favorite thing about it was that, you know, there are a few alpha leaders in the different groups, the a cappella groups that I recruited, and we all communicated effectively and lovingly. Like, how should we run this rehearsal? There's obviously different styles.
And you only rehearsed once, right?
Not everyone could make it. It went smoothly, beautifully, and we're just in tears sharing our stories. And there are women from ages 19 to 50-some. And we shared stories and experiences, and those women we're forever connected now. I still talk to the women that I met through that song. And so, you know, all of us ended up meeting the morning of the march. I picked a spot, I looked at the map, I was like, where's the main stage, where's the closest subway station, here's a McDonald's. Everyone meet in front of the McDonald's, and then we ended up flash mobbing as much as we could. So we flash mobbed 7 times.
You performed it 7 times, and what happened with the video? Where did that actually come from, the one that went viral?
It's a crazy story, because my plan was to have my friends videotape, and I would stitch it together, post it when I got back from the march. But what happened was the 7th flash mob was supposed to be at the side of the stage, because my girlfriend actually, she created the Pussy Hat Project, and so the Atlantic was following her, and she, being a supportive, empowering friend, was like, hey, I want the Atlantic to cover your song. Come perform next to the station where we're giving out the hats. So we were on our way there, but because it was so crowded, just so many people, that the police were starting to blockade streets so that the traffic flow could be controlled. So we literally couldn't get to where we were planning to. So I thought, screw it, we're just gonna sing here. And that was the last time we sang, and that was the time that another woman who I didn't know, her name's Alma Harrell, she happens to be a documentary filmmaker and a music video director. She was walking, when she saw us sing, she filmed part of it, uploaded it onto her Twitter and Facebook, and then that's the video that went viral. And so I didn't know who Alma was, and so we connected afterwards. And even now, she still contacts me, and she's the first female director for a PNG commercial for the Olympic series, and she pulled me in and said, hey, I want you to audition for this part to sing for the PNG commercial.
This is your new song, that it's a PNG commercial related to the Olympics. This is the last song you're going to perform for us. So she's a director on that?
She's the director, yeah. And so I produced the track with my co-writer, Adrienne, who wrote Quiet with me. So it's the first PNG commercial with female music producers and a female director.
Women helping women, it's great.
Yeah, yeah.
We have maybe time for a question or two from Milck, if we have any out there. Oh, we got one.
Hi, Sarah. Who inspires you as a singer?
Maya Angelou is a huge inspiration for me. I've been reading her work since I was really young, and I hold on to her words. I actually have "Still I Rise" tattooed on my wrist, and it just reminds me of how pain can be turned into power. So she's a big one.
What was that moment like when the video went viral? When you woke up, right, and you find out that you have 1 million Twitter mentions, your career has basically been transformed overnight. What's that experience like?
I remember my phone all of a sudden exploding after I had read a text from a friend saying, "OMG, Emma Watson just retweeted our video." I was like, "What are you talking about?" I was like, "Emma Watson, like the one I'm obsessed with? Like, or is this like your friend who's also named Emma Watson?" And so I was like, "Why is there a video up already?" But of course, everyone has their phones and they're filming on the spot. I was just, my head was spinning, and that next day was endless interviews. And then Samantha Bee had contacted me to perform, so then some of us flew out to New York to perform for Samantha Bee. Then the next day I started meeting with like all the heads of the labels, major labels, and it was very interesting to be in those rooms. And I am very proud of this, because when I walked in, I said, "Look, I'm 30 years old, I'm an Asian female, I don't fit your boxes, and this is a shiny song, but there's more repertoire, so I need you to listen to everything before you sign me as an artist." So it's like following, and there's such an influx of offers and different things. I almost panicked for a second, but I was like, no, it's okay, because I have my female intuition, and I can trust that. So I just kind of leaned back. Yeah, I leaned back and kind of let everything happen and let my instincts tell me where to go.
And now you have a new album coming out in January, right?
Yeah.
Give us a sense of what we can expect from that.
You know, I always tell this story after this song went viral. Co-writers started coming, it's like, "Oh, let's make more movement songs." And I was like, what does that mean? I don't know what that means. And so I only write from a very personal and honest place. I don't know if the next song is gonna help the world heal, but every song I write is to help me heal through a conflict or some type of deeper issue that has been gnawing at me. So, like, for example, the latest song I wrote is called "Closer," you know, and it sounds like a romance song. It's like when we're in that disagreement, come a little closer. But it's really about the right and the left, you know, like my aunt and I have different political views, but what can we do to heal and to unite? Because I'm not interested in hate. I'm interested in, like, solutions. So tell me more, Aunt. Tell me more about your beliefs so that I can understand. So it's going to be stuff like that. I joke that, you know, I'm going to leave the light summer jams to somebody else.
We have enough of those.